And welcome back everyone to the video series dedicated show on MTV whose name is Gladiator. That's right, we're talking about The Challenge Season 40 Battle of the Eras Episode 8, and we have finally done it. We have reached the movie-sponsored episode of the season. I mean, we had Puss in Boots in Season 38, we had the new Transformers movie back in World Championship, and here we are. Made it to Gladiator 2, coming out November. But before we can get to all the Gladiator festivities, let's start off where last episode left off, and that was Darrell and Tina being eliminated, leaving Derrick and Rachel as the only two members of Era 1. Now, we've been watching this season, and Era 1 has been having a tough time, struggling in daily challenges. Well, what can they do with only two people? Now, speaking of people who feel like they are at the bottom of the house, we have Jenny, who is frustrated with how she is ranked in her own team, and we even get yet another confessional from Kaycee being critical of why Jenny feels the way she does. Apparently, this is the only storyline Kaycee can get in the season, is just complaining about Jenny and calling her a rookie, even though Jenny did way better in a final back in season 35 than Kaycee did. Cory and Avery are targets for Era 3, but Derrick is a target for Era 2, and they have like a built-in alliance because of what happened prior in this season between Avery and Tony, and Avery sticking her neck out on the line to keep Derrick safe. Cory feels like he's in a really good spot because Era 3 has been working with Era 4, and now they have a built-in like friendship because of Avery and Derrick that they're working closely with Era 2, that as long as Era 1 doesn't get into power, Cory should be good, right? Not so fast, because the very next day we see Derrick and Theo striking up a deal to work together, Era 1 and Era 4. Because Era 2 and Era 3 have Avery and Derrick with such a close friendship, they're destined to work together. So, if they have each other's backs, why not have Era 1 and Era 4 looking out for each other? Theo agrees. This is a spark of hope for Era 1 to hopefully do well in the challenge, maybe get some help from Era 4 to possibly stay out of elimination, even if they don't win, but you never know what the daily challenge is going to be. That is until we get to this week's daily challenge, sponsored by Gladiator 2, out in theaters November, where this challenge is called Battle for Honor. This looks very similar to Riot Act back in season 20. It also looks similar because Derrick was all alone in that challenge, and he's all alone in this one. Again, he's going to be working with Era 4, but it is daunting to have one person from Era 1 in one round and one person in Era 1 in the next round. Now, the rules to this is that you have to use shields and try to knock people off into the water. You have to try to be the last era standing, or have the most people at the end of the round in your era to win. Just hearing those rules means that Era 1 had no chance. You mean to tell me that Derrick and Rachel now have to knock out every single person to just have a shot of winning? This should have been like percentage-wise. If you can knock out the people percentage-wise, now I feel like saying it out loud, it gives Era 1 a huge advantage, but they only have two people. This was just so unlucky for them. The men's round was impeccable. Cory is out here just doing his thing, doing his gladiator thing, making people know that he is tired of the treatment that he is getting in the house. He's ready to play. He's ready to compete. He has given Theo all he's got. He's taking it easy on Derrick, which I'll put in quotes, taking it easy on Derrick. But Cory came to play, as well as Derrick. When he got involved, he was showing his heart, his tenacity, like he normally does. Pretty surprising that Bananas is out first, then Derrick, then Jordan, and Derrick K. With 3 minutes left, you had 3 people from Era 4, and you had Devin, Cory from Era 3, and Nehemiah being the lone person from Era 2. Devin is yelling for Cory to make a deal with Theo, and Theo says, no, I already made a deal, I'm not gonna be snaky. And so they combat each other. Things get pretty spicy because Cory lets out some frustration. He's angry. Derrick comes at Cory, throws his life vest while Cory is walking away. I'm surprised nothing more came out of this, but I love the drama. Cory was feeding us this episode, as we'll see later on in another dramatic argument later on after the chamber. Now, getting to the women's round, this round was rather tame. You had Nia and Avery falling off early, and then you had some like tease of Cara and Tori maybe going after each other. Maybe Laurel was gonna help Cara. It did not happen. I mean, at one point you can hear TJ being like, come on, get physical, move, do something. It seems that Nia and Avery were the only two players to be eliminated in the women's round, and at the end results, of course, Era 1 came in last place. They're going directly into the elimination. No shocker there. Hate the rules for this and the placement of when this daily challenge was played, but I understand that it's because of the Gladiator 2, the movie promotion that's happening next month. My goodness. And then Era 4 wins, meaning Theo and Jenny are in power. They're safe. They get to make the decision on who to send in against Era 1, whether it is Era 2 or Era 3. Now, coming back to the challenge house, things get sticky with Avery and Derrick now at odds. They both don't want to throw each other under the bus, but they're not going to hold back on trying to save themselves, because who wants to go into an elimination against Rachel or Derrick, even Derrick having a hurt leg? We get to the chamber, and Era 2 and Era 3 are giving their best reasonings on why they should be saved, and then Derrick is just like, lets it rip. He's like, I think Rachel has the best opportunity to win against Avery instead of Cara, so I think we should face off against Era 3, and this sparks up another dramatic moment between Derrick and Cory, where Cory's like, so you want to go up against me? Derrick is normally calm, cool, and collected, and kind of rides the fence a little bit, at least in history of the challenge, but I enjoyed him in this chamber. I thought that this was impeccable strategy to kind of call out Cory kind of indirectly to help out Rachel, but him starting this beef, starting this argument, and then Cory not backing down, I'm living for this episode. We leave the chamber, and pretty much Jenny and Theo are looking out for Era 2. Theo has a friendship with Cara, and Jenny likes bananas, so they never really wanted to go after Era 2, so hearing Era 1 wants Era 3, this opens the door for them to do what they wanted. But out of courtesy, they decide to do a team meeting with Era 4, and they let it be known that they want to send in Era 3, and even though Michelle and Kyland are doing their best to try to put logic behind this and reasoning of like, hey, I know we said Cory's name before, but we've been working with Era 3, and they've been winning or close to winning more times than not, and I feel like we should keep that bridge open. Theo and Jenny are like, yeah, but I really want to do this. It doesn't help that Josh and Kaycee kind of just go with the flow. And realistically, from this episode, we find out that Josh and Kaycee are the epitome of, if you're friends with everyone, you're friends with no one, as they will do whatever to stay in good graces. If they're really close friends with Cory, oh well, they're really close friends with Tori and Laurel and all these other people, to where it's like, you're gonna screw over somebody, you're gonna make somebody mad at something, even a no decision, because we'll hear from Josh in the argument with Cory saying like, I can't vote because I'm too good friends with Cory. Well, if you're too good friends with Cory and you don't make a decision or don't make a vote, guess what? That's a decision to not stick up for your close friend Cory. And even Michelle tells this to Devin when Devin is asking about the vote, hearing that it was 5-2 to send in Cory and Avery. Devin wants to know the details, and Michelle gives him everything that Jenny and Theo always wanted to do this, and nobody really stuck up. And now feelers and antennas and red alarms are going off in the Vacation Alliance to be like, whoa, Josh and Kaycee are kind of just going rogue and kind of flapping away in the wind. Maybe they're not as good friends or alliance members as I once thought. We are seeing the crumbling of the Vacation Alliance right in front of us, and I'm living for it. This is where we see the argument between Josh and Cory, where Josh comes up to Cory asking how he is he doing okay? And Cory has just had it. We heard him from the previous episode coming back from the house after winning against Brad, where Josh is like all over him and being like, I'm so proud of you, buddy. And Cory's like, they're testing me. They're pushing me to my limits, and I can't stand it. And we saw Cory this whole entire episode getting frustrated to now it's bubbling over. Now the line has been crossed, and Cory just lets Josh know, like, you have been found out. 5-2, you didn't have my back, you sent me in already. And Josh wants to come off in the confessional being like, well, this is all Cory's decision making. He made so many weird decisions up to this point. Now that he thinks that I did this, you didn't make this decision, but you made the previous decision. And that led to this massive argument because you made that decision to send him in. And now to hear that you didn't have his back in this vote, guess what? You did that though. You could have stuck up, you could have said something, but you didn't. So you know what? You did do it. Maybe you didn't make the definitive decision, but you had a hand in it. We're not dumb. We're not dumb here. We've been watching. We're not dumb. Everybody gets dressed, heads down to meet up with TJ at the arena, where we're gonna have Era 1, Derrick and Rachel facing off against Era 3, Cory and Avery, in this gladiator-themed elimination called Fate of the Gladiators, where one person is going to be the evader, and then they'll play the striker. The striker will be wearing boxing gloves and putting on a blindfold, and then they're going to have to try to swing and try to knock down or explode little paint pellets on the evader, who will be dressed out and decked out in bells and chicken shoes. They're going to be making all types of noises, trying to run around this ring to evade the strikes. You're trying to pop all of these paint pellets the quickest on your opponent. Whoever can do that will win this elimination. The women are up first, and Rachel is a striker while Avery is the evader. Too bad Avery doesn't know what evading means because she is just taking punch after punch after punch. I mean, the way Rachel is getting these headshots in is incredible. I mean, she's blindfolded, yet it feels like Avery, even though she's moving, is standing still, and Rachel is just going after it. People are cringing. This was really tough to watch, and at the end of the day, Rachel was able to get all 16 targets off of Avery. Now it's Avery's turn to be the striker, and Rachel has a much better strategy of running around, trying to evade all of Avery's punches. Avery's getting some good shots in, but at the end of the day, she was unable to hit like 6 paint packets on Rachel, mainly the head, so Rachel was able to win over Avery. The real matchup comes between Cory and Derrick. Cory's up first as the striker. He starts off a little slow. Derrick has to stay on the ropes because his knee is really injured, but Cory gets in some good shots. Cory was kind of like kept his arm on him and was just kind of going after him. Cory is able to get all 16 packets, so Derrick has to get all Cory's packets to burst or fall off the quickest. And even though Derrick has only one real healthy leg and knee, he does a great job. And at the end of the day, he gets all the packets off of Cory, but alas, it was not quick enough. And of course it wouldn't be because he was injured, but he gave a valiant effort. I mean, Derrick, no matter what, always gives an incredible effort in these eliminations, in these games, hurt or healthy, no matter what, disadvantage, advantage, Derrick always gives it 150%, and I love the moment after this elimination between Cory and Derrick because this is the kind of competition I want to see in the game. I don't want to see these personal jabs, these personal arguments happening in the house. I want to see people get frustrated with the gameplay, get frustrated with each other based off of the game like we saw with Cory and Derrick the entire episode. But at the end of the game, we know it's just a game. And Cory was able to give Derrick a hug, give him a huge compliment, and tell him to chin up after he was told that Derrick had lost. I love this sportsmanship between Cory and Derrick at the end of the day. It was really, really special, and it gives me goosebumps just talking about it. Avery and Derrick were eliminated, and now Cory and Rachel have to send out new targets. This time, we're not starting with Era 1 because nobody's standing over there. We're gonna start with Era 4. We get 2 volunteers from Era 4, Kaycee and Kyland. We get 2 volunteers from Era 3, Devin and Tori, and because nobody was standing over in Era 1, Rachel is the only target in Era 1. Now, I thought I had half a chance, first of all, that I thought the game would change because of everything that happened with Era 1, having only one person. I was like, I think the game is going to change. But then, when that wasn't going to happen, I thought, okay, if it's not going to change and they're still going to pick targets, we learned that a person can't be a target 2 weeks in a row. So I thought, with Rachel having just been a target and now being the only person there, but she won the elimination, that possibly she would get a week off and she wouldn't have to be a target this week. But alas, that is not what happens at all, and now she is the only target, and I just wonder, what does that mean for the gameplay? If the men all get together from Era 2, 3, and 4, and they ensure that they can try to make Rachel lose, would that mean that there would be no men's elimination? Because that would greatly benefit the men, and kind of remind me of a double agent type of thing, but in the preview to next week, it looks like it's just a hold on for your dear life endurance competition. So I guess we're just gonna have to wait to see how that's all going to play out. But that is it for this week's review and recap. What do you think about this episode? Let me know down in the comment section below. What do you think about the Gladiator 2 sponsorship? What do you think about the daily challenge where it's like Riot Act Part 2? What do you think about the elimination? I actually think that both of these together could have been really, really fun if, let's say, the Gladiator 2 daily challenge could have been done earlier on in the season when everybody had somewhat similar numbers and some of the bigger players from like Era 1 were still in the game. I think that could have been impeccable, but I understand it with the sponsorship and closer to November that they would want to play it the way they did. Are you sad to see Avery and Derrick be eliminated from the game? And what do you think is going to happen with Josh and Kaycee? Kaycee is a target going into next week. It looks like Josh and Kaycee are going to get a little bit of heat on them because of this vote and how they've been playing the game. And do you think that this is the beginning of the end of the Vacation Alliance as we know it? I feel like we can only pray. But let me know anything and everything down in the comment section below. And I want to give a special shout out, thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really, really soon with more Challenge 40 content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.